Okay, hi there, everybody. MUS 5323, Advanced Methods and Materials in Secondary Vocal Music. Choral Methods, we call it. Do you have choral methods as an undergrad? At Southeastern, I love to direct choirs. That's why I'm here. But my second favorite thing is to teach that choral methods class. I'll be teaching the undergraduates this semester at the same time as I'm teaching y'all. And it's the last gasp class where they draw on the conducting and the education coursework they've learned so far, plus their music history, their music theory, and we bit by bit send them out to start working with students and baby steps towards being a student teacher next semester and then hopefully a real teacher a year from now. I do love to teach choral methods, but of course this class is even better because y'all are already out there. You have been. Some of you have been teaching about as long as I have, or maybe even longer. So this course is, at its heart, primarily an exchange of ideas and best practices among colleagues, which is why it's one of my favorite things to teach. Some of you have taken classes from me just recently this summer. You might have taken that music history class from me. This is a whole different character than music history and core literature, because instead of a huge body of historical past knowledge that we're trying to make sure you're acquainted with, this is more about exchanging ideas. Certainly there's a huge body of research and other things that we want you to be familiar with, but you're bringing as much to the table as I am in this process as we talk about what works and what doesn't work, what are the challenges in our situations, what are the good ideas that you may have, and where do we line up and where do we differ. Uh, I usually say that this class has got a ruthless quality of self-examination about it. And, there's no doubt. The example I'll use is a conducting example, because some of you just were here on campus recently taking conducting with one of my colleagues. And although I wasn't there, I am willing to bet there were some times during the semester when Dr. Uyghur was correcting you on some small physical thing you were conducting and then your pinky's up or something like that. And you may have even felt a little twinge of embarrassment because, you've been conducting your own ensembles for years, right? How is it that we suddenly get nervous and self-conscious and forget how to do it when somebody is closely watching and examining us? And, I feel your pain. Yeah. I've taken hundreds of conducting classes, and every single time I sometimes shake my head and I say, well, I thought I knew how to do this. Certainly. A class like this, where you're going to have to discuss with us your teaching practices, there are going to be times when you suddenly will come up against a wall and say, well, I'm not sure why I've always am doing that. And by the way, this idea of self-examination, I'm part of this game too. In both of my methods classes, usually the things that I'm making a big deal about from week to week, the reason I'm underlining them so emphatically is because there are places where I realize that I'm coming up short or need to up my game a little bit. So don't be embarrassed. Don't be shy. We're here to exchange our best practices and critically rethink what we're doing, because we know that what we're doing is successful at some net majority. Probably 70 to 80 to 90% of what we're doing, we're dead on. But if you're like me, I want to pick up every last couple of percentage points I can on that score to get my students just a little further along and see just a little more of what they can accomplish this semester or this year. Because you're all working music educators and you're in the classrooms, there will be some assignments, some things that I'll ask you to do, and video, and an email to me. And again, you may feel maybe worried about being embarrassed. Oh, look at how my students are behaving on camera, or look at the state of my choir room. And I'm here to tell you, don't worry about that stuff at all. Uh, I've I was a working public school music educator for 14 years, and I understand perfectly well all the challenges that go in that classroom. And have no fear, under no circumstances am I critiquing uh, the environment, your classroom, the how messy your desk is or is not, and how that one kid will just not do what he's supposed to do even when the camera's on him. I've been in your shoes, so I get it, right? The the body of knowledge we're trying to reach is we're reading and searching through a lot of research about things that we already know how to do. Does that make sense? Uh, with my undergraduates, we'll talk about warm-ups for quite a while, and then I'll send them out to warm up some students. And, it's their second, third, fourth, fifth time doing that. I'm fairly confident you know how to warm up your choir. I'm fairly confident you've done it nearly every day of your teaching life. But we're going to talk about what our goals are with these warm-ups, and then maybe get to the heart of why do you do the things that you do. Some of this research we'll look at talks about how so many teachers just automatically do the warm-ups that their teachers did, that their college teachers did specifically. And, although I'm a firm believer in doing whatever your college teachers tell you is right, we know there's got to be better reasons to do all the things that we do. So it's going to be a great process of sharing among a group. It drives me crazy that this class is online. This class is best done in person, but of course that's not feasible. And I'm happy that you all have jobs. And so this is how we have to interact. Let me ask you to be very diligent in the discussion boards that go with this class. Because this class without the discussion and interaction is not as useful as it should be. If you've taken an online class from me before, like music history, you could fall behind for 3 or 4 weeks and then catch up as needed. That's not the case in this class. It's really most important that we're all wrestling with these topics at roughly the same time so that we can interact with each other. We can talk on the discussion boards and actually have a conversation. So please do your best to stay with us. Concepts are grouped by week, and I haven't really even broken it up past then. 1 week, which is technically 3 classes, I don't have it broken down that far. So, the whole first week is going to be on a couple of linked concepts. There'll be some readings. The next video on Blackboard here will talk about the text that I've asked you to acquire. It's very important. And then there's going to be a dozen other texts and short articles and little blurbs and bits of research, but I'm doing most of that for you and providing that in PDF so that you don't have to go out and buy 100 things. So I'm really looking forward, I know I've said that several times, but I'm really looking forward to this class with you all this semester. Despite the online format, I always learn many things going through this process, and I'm excited that you're on board this time too. So, best of luck. Here we go.